The controversy surrounding Governor Siminalayi Fubara's budget presentation in Rivers State stems from a dispute over which faction of the State House of Assembly is legitimate. The crisis began with 27 lawmakers who defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, that's the APC, automatically vacating their seats. This led to a split in the House of Assembly, with two factions claiming legitimacy. Now, one led by Martins Amaewhule-led and the other led by Victor Oko-Jumbo. A recent court judgment ruled that Governor Siminalayi Fubara can only present the budget to the Oko-Jumbo-led faction, as the 27 lawmakers who defected are no longer members of the House. However, the Amaewhule faction has rejected these judgments, arguing that they are the legitimate representatives of the people. The controversy has sparked heated debates and tension in the state, with many calling for a resolution to the crisis to ensure smooth governance of the state. Well, joining me on the program this evening to discuss this is Legborsi. Yamaabana is the president of Rivers State Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Coalition. He joins virtually from Rivers State. I also have Stanley. Fongod is the CEO of Croston FinTech. Of course, he's an economist and also a tech expert. He joins virtually from the United States. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me start by asking that, and that is to you, Legborsi. This, of course, another happening again in Rivers State for many that have been following the unfolding events there. I mean, it looks like a drama or a series of many parts, many episodes. What do you make of this recent development, particularly the governor presenting the state's budget to a three-member House and the legal crossfire that we're seeing?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that Rivers youth leaders, we are very pleased with the governor. We commend him for putting the interests of Rivers State first. The presentation of the budget, Christian Inclusive Growth and Development Budget by the governor, goes to demonstrate the mantra of the governor of putting the people of Rivers State first. Mind you, the aim of the detractors was to see what they could do in order to become a clock in the wheels of governance in Rivers State. But the governor has stood very tall in the face of these doubting challenges, and he has been, very up and doing. He has moved Rivers State from where it was before. We are going to the grueling land, and I must tell you that Rivers State is gradually migrating from the Egypt of political misrepresentation and siphoning of our common patrimony into the canal of effective political representation. And that is made possible by the man, Governor Siminalayi Fubara. We commend him. As for your question of what I make of what is going on, the court have said it all. There is and there was a precedent in 2016 or thereabout, when the former governor of the state, now the FCT Minister, presented a budget to a six-man assembly led by Right Honorable Adams, who were all in this state. So there is nothing new here. The hula baloo is not, it doesn't arise, if not for very cheap political interest. Like our former leader, we Christian, if not for one man trying to turn Rivers State into his personal estates. That is what is interplaying here. But the governor has been very up and doing.
I would like you to, I'm sorry, Yamaabana, I would like you to expand on what you mean by cheap political interest. And what man are you referring to, please?
Well, I do not believe in mentioning names or dropping names.
Why would you mention names? If you can...
We do not need a soothsayer. We do not need a soothsayer to to know that prior to the crisis, the former governor of Rivers State and the FCT Minister said that he was going to make this state ungovernable for the current governor, and that the political crisis he may not win, but he will make the governor of Rivers State suffer. I wish you could replay those videos. The tapes must be with your studio. And so when you see statements like that and you see the attendant crisis that follows it, you don't need a soothsayer. It's like the winch cried at night and the child died in the morning. So we have called on the former governor. You know, we are the youth of this state. We supported him so wholeheartedly. And the same support we gave to him is the same support we are giving to Governor Fubara, because we want this state to move forward. We have called on him to please concentrate on FCT and allow Rivers State to thrive. Rivers State would have suffered a lot if not for the wisdom of Governor Fubara to navigate through this crisis. And thank God that our laws are there. And I must commend the judiciary for the recent judgment, which has ordered the governor of Rivers State not to represent any budget or to recognize the Amaewhule-led group of friends. Because the law is explicit. They have defected and as such automatically lost their respective seats. And so whatever they do is null and void. In fact, if the governor goes ahead and do any business with them, the governor will be breaking the law, which is sworn to uphold. And that is what is happening. So the FCT Minister is our son, the very proud son of Rivers State. We hold him in high esteem. And as youth of Rivers State, we are once again, begging him. I wish I see him. I will even go on my knees to tell him to allow peace.
You would go on your knees to I'm sorry, you said you wish, if you saw the former governor of Rivers, who is now the FCT Minister, Amaewhule-led, you would go on your knees to appeal to him.
On behalf of the youth of Rivers State, I will go on my knees and appeal to him to allow Governor Fubara govern Rivers State in peace. Because he did 8 years here. Nobody dared him. Nobody even questioned him. Youth of Rivers State, under my leadership here, we even declared wanted. Those are there to challenge him. And all of that, he did it seamlessly. But now, this is a governor that has come with campaign promises, which is implementing. But yet, he's being fought from all corners. This is not called for. This is unnecessary, and this must stop. So as Rivers youths, we are appealing to Chief Barrister Nyesom-Wike to allow Rivers State be, in the name of the Almighty God.
All right, let me bring in Stanley Fongod into the conversation right now. Stanley, I mean, what do you make of all that has happened, particularly with the presentation of the budget by the governor to the Oko-Jumbo-led faction of the House, even though we also know that the Martins Amaewhule-led faction, the 27 lawmakers who defected but claimed did not defect. As a matter of fact, we had one of them on this program who openly did say he never defected. I mean, looking at all of this happening, what do you make of it personally?
Well, the expression that, 2020, in hindsight is 2020. 2020 is hindsight. And the reality is that they did, from every single report I have gathered, they basically left the party, they defected, they departed from the party, and now they have no legitimate claim, no matter what. And so whatever Governor Fubara is doing is absolutely legitimate. And I think that time has come, as somebody who is actually looking from the outside, time has come, for us, especially in the political arena, to focus a little bit more on the people that we are governing than our own, associations and factions and friends and relatives and all of that garbage that we have so far as politics is concerned, especially in Africa. We have to find ways where we literally understand that it's all about the people. It's not about any one particular person. It's not about any one particular individual. The most saddest thing is this, that there is no political party, there is no governor who is bigger than his people, neither are you bigger than his state. So we have to, for that, I absolutely am on board with Governor Fubara for basically presenting a budget and working on the budget. My actual issues is actually on the budget. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether the budget was legitimate or whether he should not have presented the budget. I think that the conversation should be is the budget, the budget meet the objectives, that is needed so far as the state is concerned.
Of course, we'll definitely get to some of the content of the budget, which we will discuss in the course of the program. But I'm made to understand right now that we need to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll of course look at some of the items on that budget, the allocation, and also we'll still talk about the political tension, particularly involving the former governor of the state and some of the back and forth happening between himself and Peter Odili, who was also a governor of that state and is now an elder statesman. So do stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on New Central Television. I still have my guest with me. Stanley Fongod is the CEO of Croston FinTech, is an economist, a tech expert, and also a Pan-African. I also have my guest, Legborsi Yamaabana, is the president of the Rivers State Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Coalition. We are discussing the politics within Rivers State, particularly with the follow-up of the budget presentation by the state governor to a three-member house. That's the Oko-Jumbo-led faction of the house, which of course the court has recognized. Thank you for staying with me, gentlemen. Now, let me go to some content of the budget. I'm still staying with you, Stanley, since of course you went in that direction. We'll come back to the political aspect. We know that in that budget, there's a breakdown, a total of about 1.188 trillion naira, and in it we have a budget for education, health, agriculture, public administration, social development. There's also gratuities and personal emolument. We know that looking at the figure for health, for instance, is about 97.750 billion naira. Education gobs about 63.275 billion naira. Agriculture has just a little about 30 billion naira. But I believe you've seen a breakdown of some of the items on that budget. You are, an economist. What do you make of this allocation vis-a-vis the living costs, the current state of the economy, and the focus of the government at this time?
I think the allocations are quite ambitious, and I think that the budget in itself is extremely ambitious. If you look at the 31 billion that they have so far as agriculture is concerned, I think that's good. But the problem with the budget, so far as I'm concerned, is if you're going to try to be able to talk about unemployment and basically address the issues of food scarcity, there has to be provisions within the bill that has a lot to do with basically finding ways in which we can convert whatever we produce and find ways of storing it. So manufacturing has to come in and some kind of industrialization within the agricultural sector. With that, which it basically makes no sense. We will farm and then we can preserve what we farm because most of our produce will basically, perish up. In the areas of education, we're looking about maybe about 9.3% of the budget, which to me is too low. You have to be able to push that to about 15%. And the reason for that is because if you do not push, if the budget is just about 9.3% of the entire budget, which is about 63 billion, that in itself is too small. A year, there are probably about 3,000 teachers that, they basically need to be able to take care of that they have not been taken care of for an economy that is the largest, second largest, beside Lagos in Nigeria. There is no reason why we should not push that budget to at least 15%, which is basically the norm for any economy. If you look at the area of healthcare, we're looking about 14.14 percentage point of the entire budget, but I think that we have to push that a little bit above 15%. If our healthcare is not good, if we have no capacity to be able to invest in our own people, have the infrastructures to take care of the sick, have the capacity to keep those in the economy healthy, then there is absolutely no reason why we should be having a budget, putting the budget on things that absolutely nobody needs. And then we have to find ways, no matter what we do, in making sure that we're able to reduce whatever we have so far as recurring expenditures are concerned. concerned, we're looking at about almost $400 and something billion in reoccurring expenditure. That's basically bureaucracy that is known for nothing else but corruption, laced with all kinds of perks, people working, you don't know where they are, ghost workers everywhere. We have to be able to cut that at least by maybe 24, 25 billion, and then take that particular money and then add it towards education and put that also towards healthcare. I will be okay if we are able to just put as much as we can towards education and healthcare. That will make tremendous sense. We have to be able to find ways also to add a lot. So far as infrastructure is concerned, I think that internet access, internet is going to be one of the key components, especially in helping young people have a digital edge and a digital advantage in competing in the 21st century. We have to be able to invest in those areas. Okay, thank you so much. Let me, of course, go to Yamaabana on this one. Yamaabana, what do you make of this, the content of the budget, about 462.254 billion naira for recurrent expenditure, and also 678.88 billion for capital projects, amongst the list of other items on that budget, health, education, infrastructure, and the likes?
Well, before I go through light on what you just asked, let me draw your attention to the statement, which is factual, that the governor made while presenting the budget to the Assembly. He said that there was a 100 billion naira increase in the IGR of Rivers State for the year 2024 without a single borrowing. And to me, this administration, I see it as one of the most sincere administrations in the history of our nation. This state have never experienced such good news before, and I want to commend him for that. Having said that, I can tell you that, like the budget is Christian, it is a budget of inclusivity because it took care of all the sectors. The last year budget.
Would you say that the budget, because you represent a large percentage of youth in Rivers State, would you say that the youth is properly captured in this budget? Because I'm looking at education, for instance, it's 63.27 billion naira, right? And we are looking at, of course, recurrent expenditure over 400 billion. So would you say that the youth is, sufficiently taken care of in this budget?
I can tell you that for free. The use of Rivers State was put in mind why this budget was being put together. I had a discussion with the Commissioner for Youth just 2 days ago, and the funds allocated to his ministry are also very massive, and from there, the use of Rivers State will be taken care of. As for the education, of course, I can also tell you that it's fairly good. Other sectors also ought to be looked into. We mustn't concentrate, budget cannot be concentrated in one sector alone. For the recurrent expenditure, that is where most of the money goes, oftentimes because of how governance is being run in this nation. It's not peculiar to Rivers alone.
All right, let's go back, of course, to the political, what I call it, back and forth. Now, recently, we've seen a lot of back and forth between, not so much, but pretty much noticeable, between the former governor of the state, Wike, and also the former governor of the state, Chief Peter Odili, where, of course, Wike, Governor Wike did say or claim that Odili is trying to dominate the state's political landscape and is encouraging Governor Fubara to disrespect the president. I mean, these are pretty much some of the things he said. He said that, of course, that some sort of maybe caution should be brought in here, even though Odili, according to reports, also have it that he had previously accused Wike of self-interest and treating Rivers State as a personal property. I'd like you to speak on this. Is the former governor, who is now the FCT Minister, is he stepping out of line here?
Obviously, no one knew, in not just Rivers State, but in Nigeria, that Wike would someday speak to Odili and, of course, his wife, the way he has done in a few days ago. And this goes to show the kind of character the minister is, because this was a man that came on the national television and told Nigerians that any day he makes the family of Odili cry, or he makes Odili or his wife cry, that day God should not forgive him. And he did that because...
So do you think God will forgive... Sorry, do you think God will forgive him on this one?
Well, it's left for him and God. I'm not God. God is in heaven watching and seeing all what we do. And you know, the reason why he made that statement, according to what he told us, I wasn't there, was that it was Odili and his wife that rescued and saved his political career. When he contested as local government chairman of Obiokpo, and his name was removed from the list, and he ran to Odili's wife, and that was how he was brought on board. And if he had not emerged as the chairman, obviously he couldn't have grown to the level he has gotten to become a governor and now a minister and all of that. And so he vowed he was never going to disregard that family. But what is happening now? We are not also surprised, we here, because it also happened to the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, and his wife. They also assisted him so much. But at the slightest provocation, it throws caution to the air. And who knows if His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu may not be the next. It is not a character that it's not a reverse thing. Reverse people don't behave like that. Reverse people are very grateful people.
So
On behalf of Rivers Youth, we want to apologize to Odili. Odili is a political father in Rivers State. Odili, almost all the politicians in Rivers State came through Odili, and Odili has been a statesman. When Odili left office, he did not bother his predecessor. I mean,
you are apologizing. You are apologizing on behalf of all the youth in Rivers State. We saw some, of course, notable individuals too from Rivers State apologizing to Governor Wike on behalf of former Governor Odili too. So, what's going on here?
Well, that's I'm telling you this directly from the grassroots, how we feel. I'm not saying this because I want to fan anybody's ego. Odili cannot be insulted by Wike. I am saying this because I'm a true Rivers son. I have never insulted one elder in this state. Even as Wike is so, I cannot insult him. Even though all the things we did for him as young people in this state, he abandoned the youth when he held sway as governor of Rivers State. But yet, we supported him to the end. And so it is not about people sponsoring groups to go and make statements on television. It is about conscience.
All right. Thank you so much. But at this point, we would, of course, take another break. When we come back, the show continues. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are looking at matters arising politically in Rivers State. I still have my guest with me. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me on the program. Now, let's look at some of the issues, build up to this. And I'm talking to you on this one, Stanley. Looking at the economic situation across the nation and this budget that has been presented, we know that to a very large extent, the cost of living in Nigeria has skyrocketed. Does this budget largely reflect a budget that would, in a way, stimulate the economy in Rivers State? Even though we know that it's an oil-producing state, it generates revenue. But again, the big question is, how does this translate to the micro level? That's people's pockets. How does this budget help stimulate the economy of the state? Do you see that happening?
Well, I find it, of course, I think that is going to go a long way in actually helping, the locals and people who lives in River State that will be able to benefit from a budget like this. The worst thing is not even having one. At least we have one. The problem is we are having this 1-point-something trillion, which basically it's primarily based on an economy which is driven by oil. If the prices of oil does tank, and this is not money we have now, it's money we're going to get in the future as we, from the revenues we receive from oil. If oil prices do tank, then most of these projects will basically go undone. So we have to be able to find ways in which we bring some kind of diversification. I think it's going to help. I think that the present state or the economy, what is happening, especially with inflation in Nigeria, as we begin to also get the local refineries begin to refine crude oil, like in Dangote refinery, that will actually ease the inflation that we are suffering in Nigeria. But most importantly, I think there has to be some kind of diversification at the level of River State, where we begin to move into other sectors rather than heavily relying on crude oil.
All right, let me also ask, of course, Yamaabana, the same question. This budget, how does it, I mean, you're very close to the grassroots. You particularly can tell and feel the pain of the people. So how does this budget help boost businesses?
Well, the 2024 budget was about 800 billion. And the grassroots in these states felt the impact of that budget. And if 800 billion budget was felt the way it was felt here on ground, then that of almost 1.2 trillion, I do not see how it should be any difference. Rather, it is going to, consolidate on the gains recorded in the previous year. This budget is going to put smiles on the faces of Rivers people. And like I said, it was tagged budget of inclusivity. That means the governor carefully put this together for the interest of Rivers people. And as you know, the governor is a man that loves the people. He's working tirelessly for Rivers State. He's not self-centered. I just told you here that he announced to us about a 100 billion increase in IGR. Perhaps the IGR of Rivers State wasn't what it was in the previous administration, but nobody told us of any increase. But this is a governor that has done this. And before now, he also informed us of how IGR that was initially 11 billion, sometimes 12 billion under the previous administration was also increased to over 20-something billion monthly. This governor is very focused. I will give it to him.
You say the governor is very focused in spite of all of the political tension. How is that?
Well, just last month, December, over 14 capital projects were commissioned by this governor. 14
capital projects?
Yes. They are there. I mean, your correspondent covers some of the commissioning projects that went on in the states. River State has been turned into a construction site, and the governor is very, very focused. In fact, the governor came prepared, and that is why we are begging his detractors to, according to our local balance here, today their day, but they should worry him so that he can, give Rivers people the best, just like he's doing.
All right, let's switch it up a bit and let's look at the strength of the People's Democratic Party in the state with all that is happening. Even though, we had the local government elections and the biggest loser, according to the governor, was even the People's Democratic Party, which the governor did admit. How would you describe the grip of the PDP in Rivers State? Is it a united party?
Well, I was a very strong and committed member of the People's Democratic Party. In fact, last year, year before last, I ran under the party for the House of Representatives.
Okay.
And the party was on ground in these states.
Okay, Yamaabana, I sincerely apologize for cutting into your line of thought. I understand that we have a breaking story now which we need to cut into. Deeply apologize. We'll be back shortly. Many thanks for staying with us. This, of course, is still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and we are discussing matters arising in Rivers politics. I still have my guest with me. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Yamaabana, before we went on that break, you were trying to actually establish a point. I'll give you some moment to do that before I move to Stanley.
Yes, so like I was saying, The People's Democratic Party has lost a bearing in the Rivers politics. That was demonstrated in the last local government elections, where the party refused participation because it could have been a big blow that they couldn't have even won a ward councillorship seat. That is the truth. And what is responsible for that is the undermining of the governor of Rivers State. The party under the acting national chairman, Damago, has not done it hiddenly. He has made it very clear that he is against the governor of Rivers State. For instance, the current purported executive of the party, emerged against a court order, and all of this happened under the nose of the national chairman. Also, you are aware that the defected members of the party, the 27 members, the acting chairman is giving them cover, also undermining the powers of the governor of Rivers State. And the governor of Rivers State, Governor Fubara, though not a noisemaker, he controls the creme de la creme of Rivers people and the grassroots, especially the young people. And so whoever undermines the governor of Rivers State will be doing so at their own peril. And that is exactly what the PDP has done. And the earlier they make amends, the better for them. Because the governor has given a lot of olive branch, reiterating that he's still a member of the party, sitting and watching if they will do the right thing. But they have to make hay while the sun shines, because if the governor take any decision, that decision will come to pass in Rivers State.
All right.
Anywhere the governor says where people should go, that is where they will go. I will give you another instance.
Okay.
Currently, there is a political pressure group in Rivers State called the Simplify Movement. That group, wherever any event is being held under the name of that group in this state, you see Rivers people on their own spontaneously paying their transport from across the state to gather just to show solidarity to the governor. And during the local government election, some men of the governor in the state, some of his supporters, went to APP and picked form. And that was where Rivers people went. They went there and all of them were voted in as local government chairman and councillor. So PDP must wake up as soon as possible.
All right, let me bring in Stanley. And Stanley, I'd like us to expand this conversation a bit to look at the nation in totality. We know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also did present, the national budget proposal to the House. And he has some pretty much, what will I call it, ambitious goals, one of which is to drop the inflation rate from the current 34% to about 15%, and also to boost revenue generation for the country, and to strengthen, the local currency, which is the naira, which goes at about 1,700 to $1 to about 1,500. Basically, the president has said he wants to improve the standard of living of Nigerians. Now, looking at the policy set in motion, right, where we are, where the president hopes to take us to, are we making progress? Is there a light at the end of this tunnel?
I think so. I think that there is light at the ending of this tunnel, and I think that we have to be hopeful no matter what. But then we have to also be cautious, and the reason for that is because we have to make sure that whatever it is that we're doing, we do so with real numbers, not just artificially inflated numbers. For example, my co-panelist was talking about the internally generated revenue, the IGR, which basically came up with a surplus of 100 million. In this particular budget, they actually placed that, basically projecting it over 300 billion rather. All right, 300 billion in this particular project. And that is basically money that is generated primarily and mostly from, whatever the state has to do so far as oil and stuff is concerned. If you look at the value of crude oil right now, it's probably about $75 per barrel. And we're looking at Donald Trump coming into power. Obviously, America become energy independent. Prices of crude oil around the world will drop to about $60 per barrel. That basically means we're in trouble. So we have to find ways in which whatever it is that we're doing so far as the budget is concerned, it has to basically cut across the board in terms of making sure that we are not just primarily talking and singing on oil. The reason why the inflation in Nigeria is so bad primarily actually is because of the oil. We sell oil, basically imported a lot of, we sell crude oil, import a lot of, refined oil, and that in itself has not helped us so far as inflation is concerned. I've been pushing for the fact that we really have to push for local refineries, and if we can push for more local refineries, that will actually help the region. If you know anything about West Africa, you'll realize that petrol manufactured in Nigeria and all those petrols for subsidies in Nigeria never ended up in Nigeria.
Talking about local refineries, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but talking about local refineries, we know that in Nigeria we have the Dangote refinery, which kicked off. There's also the Port Harcourt refinery. There's Warri refinery. There are talks around the Kaduna refinery. One would have expected that this price drops significantly since local production, commenced. But what we've seen so far is pretty much marginal. It was a little above 1,000 naira per liter. But right now, even with the drop, it's just maybe around 975, or maybe a little less. Not what it used to be, which was way below 500. So is this about production locally, basically?
Well, on the economic level, it is production on the economic level. But just in the words of Dangote, the petrol business in Nigeria is more than the drug cartel. So you're looking at corruption in ways that you can't even imagine. And that's the reason why the prices have remained the way they are. But primarily, if you're looking at on economic terms, it's supposed to bring down the level of inflation and prices are supposed to drop. And if prices continue to be the way they are, that basically means every other thing too will go up because cost of production basically rises once ever, energy cost basically rises. Energy, petrol is energy. And so once that goes up, everything goes up. But fundamentally, economically speaking, we are supposed to basically experience a lot of relief, but unfortunately that's not happening, and that has a lot to do with regulations. It has nothing to do with the fundamental structures of economy.
All right, just before we go, let me come back to Yamaabana. On behalf of the youth of Rivers State, what are your final thoughts on this matter between the former governor of the state, who is now the current FCT Minister, and the current governor, the political crisis happening in Rivers? On behalf of the youth of the state, what are you saying?
Well, my advice to the youth, and not just the youth, the people of Rivers State, is to continue to give the governor of Rivers State the support, because the political war is not the governor's fight. He is rather doing it for the interest of Rivers State. And like I told you, all of this was targeted at the soul and resources of Rivers State. And the governor is guiding it for all Rivers people. And he must be supported, and we will continue to give him that support. Then for our political elites, we want them to always play by the rules. Let them not make comments that will be inflammatory, that will rather throw Rivers State into another unavoidable crisis. And to all Nigerians and the international community, I want to call on them to come and invest in Rivers State. Against all of these things we do on the television and social media, Rivers State is very peaceful and very receptive to all that want to come and do business. As for us, we are working with the governor to ensure that we give whoever comes the conducive environment to do businesses here.
All right, let me take the final thoughts of Stanley on this matter.
Well, my thought is that we need to be able to do whatever it takes to make sure that we put a lot more money in education. There's no reason why $15-something billion should be given to social development and investments, rather than putting that money when we only have, 63-something billion in relationship to education. We have to be able to push as much as we can in education, because if we don't, I guarantee you that we can have roads, but we'll not have dumb people moving on those roads. We need to have people who will bring more development into the area, and it comes by learning. And I think that a lot must be invested in education and healthcare.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to say a big thank you. Thank you for being a part of the program tonight. Legborsi Yamaabana is President, Rivers State Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Coalition. And also Stanley Fongod is the CEO of Croston FinTech, is an economist, a tech expert, and Pan-African. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.